So, hey ladies, so we've been talking about motivation a little bit lately. And so, what we know about motivation is that it happens once we take action. So, and that first step or that step that we take doesn't necessarily have to be a big step, it just needs to be a step forward. But then, in order for that motivation to become higher, we need to be able to do that action more regularly. So it's what we do day in, day out, or the habits that we create each day that give us the results that we want, that make us and help us keep that motivation that can be so elusive. And if you've been hanging around with me a while, you know that I call motivation the magical, mystical unicorn, because it does take us to have some form of action to be able to get motivation happening. And so while I was thinking about this, I was thinking about the habits that I have. So the go-tos that I'm doing right now. And so I wanted to share them with you. But I also, before I share them with you, I wanted to say that it's really easy to get off track. It's really easy for our habits to fit into the good, the bad, and the ugly columns. And it's much easier to create the ugly and the bad habits than it is to create the good habits. And so what we want to do is just think about, well, what are those habits that I have in place? And, maybe just rate them good, bad, and ugly, and see which ones are getting you to where you want to go and which ones are taking you further away from where you want to be. And so I know for myself, there are times when I don't go to bed when I should go to bed. There are times when I don't exercise and I should be exercising. There are times when I should be eating better than what I do and I don't. So we all go through those moments of, life distracting us in some way, shape, or form. And so let me just share with you what I do right now. So what's working for me from a habit perspective. Now, I had to sit down and write a list because a lot of these things I don't think about. So I'm doing them. I'm mindful when I'm doing them, but I'm not thinking about them from a perspective of having to grind through them. They are more on autopilot than I had realized. So I did have to sit down and think about it. So I have a list here. And so the first thing is that I work out 6 days a week. Now, when I talk workout, I'm talking about an actual workout. I'm not talking about walking, okay? So walking for me is not exercise. Walking for me is a mind, body, spirit connection. And I will elaborate on that in a moment. So 6 days a week, I do strength, endurance, and flexibility, which are the key elements of fitness. And so I do a workout that combines all three of those, which is what we do at Strong Healthy Women, because we know that we want to be the most efficient that we possibly can be with the time that we have available to us. So it means if I can do the three in one go, rather than having to go to a strength workout, then an endurance workout, and then a flexibility workout, I'm saving myself heaps of time. And of course, we're girls, we're always doing lots of things, and so we want to be conscious of how much time we're using. So I do take one day off, and that's a Saturday, from that particular exercise. All right, I drink tons of water. We're going into the cooler months, so I work on 30 mils per kilo of body weight that I have, which is the standard. It's 30 to 40 mils per kilo of body weight. If you're living somewhere that's hotter, you want to go for that 40 mil calculation rather than the 30. When you're working out or when it's hotter outside, you want to increase the amount of fluids that you have as well too. What I also do is I listen to, first thing in the morning, I listen to either an uplifting podcast or a book. And the reason that I choose to listen rather than read is because I can do that with one of the other things that I do, which is to walk. Okay, so I'll go out walking. So the first part of my walk is in silence. So it's a meditation. I probably, generally as a rule, I'll put on some meditation music and I'll be playing that. So it's just about me connecting with what's going on around the place and just looking inward for the day and setting some type of intention. So after I've done that, I will then flick on a podcast or I'll flick on my book and I will listen to those things. So they'll either be uplifting from, just bringing me some level of joy, or they'll be some type of education, because what I find is that when we're learning each and every day, that also brings us this uplift and the joy that we're looking for as well. And so that is just part of my daily routine. All right. So I then track my fruit and veggie intake. So I will have fruit and veggie in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, and so I will be looking for the varieties that I'm having. I know that when I track it, that includes seeds and herbs as well too, and nuts. So whole foods in general is what I'm looking for here. So I just want to track how many whole foods I'm having during the course of the day. And I want to make sure that I'm having variety as well too, so that I'm getting that good cross section of micronutrients that I need. So that's another thing that I do. I go outside at 10:30. Now, my little filly, who's 9 months old, she has this ritual at 10:30, where what she does is her tail goes in the air and she runs around. She does 4 or 5 laps around the paddock. She kicks her back legs up and she is just in the moment. She just has an absolutely wild time. I take my cup of tea outside and I sit out there and watch her. That just brings me such great amusement and joy, and just puts an absolute smile on my dial. And so I always head out to make sure that I get to see her Speedy Gonzales moving around that the paddock. She really is very entertaining. Okay, and her name is Gidget. And when I first saw her doing this, I thought I gave her the wrong name. She should be called Wildfire. But anyway, when she gets to the races, I think we'll be calling her Wildfire. Okay, the other thing that I do is meditation. So I do that meditation part of when I'm going out for a walk. But I also then do it after I've had lunch as well too. That just helps me recenter, give me some purpose, reset the attention for the afternoon then. These things don't take up a lot of time. Most of these things I'm talking about, 5-10 minutes, a lot of them. Some of them are a little bit longer, but, basically I'm looking for quick wins here. I will always sit down and have dinner with Paul, and we will put our phones away so that we can intently listen to the nonsense that we've talking about, and give one another the time that we deserve as well too, because I think that's important with relationships. The other thing is that I will get 10,000 steps in before I sit at my desk. So I will get steps in whilst I'm working out. So whilst I'm doing that strength, endurance and flexibility, I will get those steps in while I'm out listening to podcasts. I will get steps in when I'm feeding the horses. So there'll be a lot of steps that I get in incidentally as well as structured. So that's just me. I like to have that 10,000 so that what happens is by the time I get to the end of the day, I've generally hit, that 15,000 to 20,000 steps, because, I'm moving around during the day as well too. And then the last thing that I wrote down, and I'm sure there's other things as well, but I just wanted to give you some idea here, is that I will be in bed by 10 p.m. every night. And that's weekdays and weekends. It's no different for me. And there's a lot of research that says the time we wake up and the time we go to bed is just as important as getting 7 to 8 hours sleep as well too. So the really funny thing about all of this is that, as I said, I had to write them down. So they were sort of like something that was automatic for me, which means that I am doing them day in, day out. And so they do give me that motivation that I need, as far as my health, my fitness, my well-being is concerned as well. So here's what I want you to do today is to just think about the habits that you have, the things that you are not compromising on, the things that you are doing day in, day out. And maybe just do the columns, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I know that there are times when I have things in the ugly column, and when I see them, I go, okay, we need to change those things. And you know it in yourself because you feel it. Well, at least I know I feel it, and I've heard it from, count hundreds of other women as well too. When we are doing the right thing for ourselves, we feel like we have more energy and that we've got greater focus and we're more productive in life. But when we're not doing the right things by ourselves, we don't have the energy, we want to sleep more, and we tend to not be able to concentrate and focus on things. So go ahead and sit down today and, find out what your go-to habits are. And share them with me. Post them below. Share a couple of your go-tos. I'd love to hear them. And if you want to know why I don't class walking as exercise, up on my YouTube site, Strong Healthy Women, there's a show up there called why walking is not exercise to me. All right, so that's it for me. Ask any questions. Over and out, and have a fantastic day. See you soon.